Hey, this is Josh from Quantum Concepts. Today I'm going to go over a quick tutorial of how to set up a new project using CodeGenerator. For this tutorial, I'm going to use Visual Studio 2010 and I'm creating a web project in C#. Since this is a simple tutorial, I will be taking some shortcuts. For instance, I'm not going to create separate projects to store different layers of the application. I'm going to put everything right in the web project. In general, that's not how you do it. For simplicity's sake, that's what we're going to do today. So far, I have an empty web project. The first thing I'm going to do is open the project properties. I'm just going to change my assembly and default namespace. Here you'll also see that we're using the .NET Framework 4. With this project, we're just going to generate some simple data objects. So I'm going to create a folder to store those. Now we're ready to switch to CodeGenerator and set up the new project. First I'll click New and enter the same root namespace I used in Visual Studio. On the Database tab, I'm going to select SQL Server and enter my local server information. And I already have a database created as well, so I'm going to point to that existing database. Next, on the Data Types tab, this is where we define how our database data types map to our programming language data types. In this case, we're using C# and there are defaults already built in. So on the Reset to Default menu, I'm going to choose C#. And as you can see, all of the default data types are already configured. That's all we need to do to get the project set up. When I click Close, CodeGenerator will grab the database schema. In the Project Explorer, you'll see that CodeGenerator has found a few tables and one view. The database we're using is a simple database which allows for the administration of course enrollments for a school or college. Of course, it is extremely simple as you can see here, so it doesn't represent a real system. The first thing you may notice is the __ refactor log table. This table is used by the Visual Studio Database project to handle database changes. We're going to go ahead and exclude that from our project because we don't need it. Now it's grayed out and you can tell that it's been excluded. I'm going to do the same for this single view that we have, because we're not going to use it at this time. Now I'm going to save the project. Expanding one of these tables will show the columns and unique indices. You can see that 2 of these columns are foreign keys. You can select any of these nodes and customize their properties. For instance, if you wanted your foreign key properties to be a little more descriptive, you could change the property name here. But for now, we'll leave it as is. The same is true for columns. For instance, in the database, this column is called Teacher ID. But in my code, if I want to call it Instructor ID, I can change that here. And if I did that, I'd probably want to change the teacher table to be instructor as well. But for this tutorial, I'm going to leave things basically as they already are. You've probably noticed the other tabs in the Properties panel: APIs, Annotations, and Attributes. I'm not going to cover those in this tutorial, but look for a future tutorial that will cover how to make use of APIs, Annotations, and Attributes in CodeGenerator. Now we're going to create a template which will allow us to generate simple data objects for our project. I'll right-click on Templates and select New Template. The Create Template window allows you to point to the XSLT you'd like to use for the template, as well as how you'd like to output that template. I'll click Browse and enter a new XSLT file name. The output options in CodeGenerator allow you to generate a single file from a template or multiple files from a template. The multiple files portion is very powerful. It's also fairly advanced and will be covered in a different tutorial. For now, we're going to go with the single file output method. I'll click Browse and choose where I'd like to save the output file. In this case, I'll go back up a level into my source code in the data objects folder that we created earlier in the tutorial. Since we're using C#, I'll use the CS extension. I also tend to put the word generated in the file name if possible. That way other people know that they shouldn't edit the file because their changes will be overwritten. Now C# is a pretty powerful language, and even though changes would be overwritten in this generated file, you can create partial classes and write custom code outside of this generated file. Other languages have similar constructs. When I click OK, my new template will be added to the Project Explorer, and I can open the template using the built-in template editor. The built-in editor supports syntax highlighting, and in the future it will also support IntelliSense. Currently, it's important for you to know how the project file is structured. And since the project file is just XML, you can simply open it in a text editor to see how the elements are defined. But I think you'll find the XML structure to be pretty natural. Now we'll write a simple template to generate data objects based on our 6 tables in this project. As you can see, this new template has a couple important comments in it. One thing to remember is to be sure to use the P prefix when you're referencing elements within the CodeGenerator project. As you can see here, we have an XML namespace declared at the top, which references the XML namespace in the CodeGenerator project file. Our first template matches on the P project element, which is the root element of the CodeGenerator XML project file. You'll soon see how writing a template can quickly generate an immense amount of code. In the next video, we'll continue working on this template. Thanks for watching.